Let's work. Turn it down and listen to the experts. Gotta give a shout to the Talking Junk Network. Showing love, hosting battles, playing dope joints. The break room topics always staying on point. Never disappoint. We'll never need a makeover. We here for the takeover like Jehovah. Talking Junk break room takeover. On the podcast, dropping bomb facts on demand like Comcast. Now drop a comment whenever they're going live. Hit the YouTube channel right now and go subscribe. Peace.
Talking Junk Network,
where entertainment lives.
Welcome to Talking Junk.
I'm your host, Jason Melendez.
Live now every week.
Talking Junk.
A multitude of professionals in different aspects, different walks of life.
You have to come on and talk junk like a normal person.
Welcome to Talking Junk, the podcast that comes to you live every Tuesday nights with a great guest with a plethora of insightful information for you. Today is like no other, you know. We have another wonderful guest for you. I've never in my life heard of the happiness coach. And if you haven't, it'll be until today. Because Miss Kelly Hopkins is here, and she is the happiness coach.
Hi.
Kelly, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I am ready to learn.
Nice.
I'm glad that you decided to come on the show. It's an honor to have you on. Now, I like to just dive right into things. So what exactly is a happiness coach?
Well, when I was searching for myself, I was extremely unhappy. And I had all the things that I thought I was supposed to have. I had a great job, great family. I made good money, and I was miserable. And I didn't know what to do. I was working in social services, so you would think that I would know what to do, but I didn't know what to do. And so I went on an exploration to figure out why I didn't feel good. You know, I had everything I was supposed to have, and I wasn't happy. So I went, I did kind of a radical thing. I quit my job, and I moved to Costa Rica with my then 1 and 3-year-old babies to try to find myself. And I'll get into that more later, but I did. And when I did, it became my mission, my passion to help other people as well. And I had been in a counseling program for a long time, and what I discovered worked so much faster than that I decided to become a coach. And when I went to go I was looking at life coaching, and then I saw a certification in happiness coaching. And I was like, well, that's what I did. I created my own happiness by getting to know my authentic self. And so I decided to get certified as a happiness coach instead of just a regular life coach. And basically, what I do is I focus on the tools of creativity. So I use journaling, meditation, visualization, and art. And I'm a terrible artist, by the way. So you do not have to be good at art, because I can't even draw a stick figure, to help people discover what's missing in their lives and what isn't working and why they don't feel fulfilled, why they're not happy, and to help them reconnect with themselves in an authentic way and discover their happiness.
Well, what are some of the most common things that you find people are unhappy about in their lives, or making them unhappy in life?
Well, I think you tend to attract people who have a similar story to your own. And so I think what I found in myself, and what I found now over and over and over again with clients, is that as we go through life, we get disconnected from parts of ourselves. You know, when something happens in our life and It's not okay. We kind of box up that part of ourselves and we push it down, and we don't engage with it. And when I moved to Costa Rica, I thought, oh, I'm going to move to Costa Rica and that's going to make me happy, right? Of course.
Right.
'Cause
Tropical location, beautiful.
Yes, exactly. Only I moved to the mountains in the southern part of Costa Rica. And in the daytime, it was great because I was with my kids full time. And, we were bonding. They were little. It was a lot of fun. And then at night, we lived in a development where the houses were really far away from each other. And it was dark, like dark. I'm from LA, so I'm dark like I'd never seen before.
Right. You
And
used to like pollution.
yes, exactly. So I'd put the kids to bed and then all of a sudden I'd be alone in the like real dark, and everything that I was running away from came for me in the night in the
Right.
jungle, because I was alone, like I'd never been alone before. And it was a wake-up call for me, to know that I couldn't just run from myself. I couldn't run from my problems. And so we moved to another development that had more people that were interested in personal development. And what I decided to do is I decided to take my 26 years of social services experience and my love of creativity. And again, like I said, I'm a terrible, terrible artist, but I love it. And so I decided to put them together. And I started an art group in my yard on Tuesday mornings at 8:30 with my neighbors. And I said, anybody who's not feeling great, come over to my house. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with me. And maybe you can too if you don't feel good. And so ladies came over and I just started putting together exercises, and we started to feel better. And I was like, well, why is this working? Why is this helping us? And we were connecting with experiences that we had in our lives that were blocks, parts of ourselves that were missing, and we were reintegrating them. And that's when I started doing research. And the National Institutes of Health has done a long-term study on the impact of creativity in mental health. And one of the best ways I heard it was when you meditate, you're primarily engaging your brain. And when you run, you're primarily engaging your body. And so as like stress management tools, but when you use creativity, like journaling, like drawing, like dancing, what happens is you're using both your body and your mind at the same time, and it accesses different parts of the brain that are not active at any other time. And you're actually able to access parts of yourself that you can't get to in any other way. And so people were starting to have things come up that they didn't realize were really what was holding them back, and having these breakthroughs. And I still felt like I couldn't get at everything for myself. So I got a coach. And I wasn't a coach yet. I was just in my yard with my neighbors. And I started working with a coach. And he did a lot of regression work where he would take you back to different parts of your own like history.
Right.
And for this story, what it's important to know that my family is extremely democratic in terms of politics in the States, blue and red. They're like, go blue, go blue. And I was like crazy blue my whole life. And I had this session with my coach, and he was like, go back, go back, go back. And then he said, okay, so where are you? And I said, I'm in a stroller. And he said, where are you? And I was looking around and my eyes were closed. And I was like, I'm at a rally and everybody's screaming and yelling. And I see my mom and she's screaming, she's yelling. And I love my mom so much. And he said, that's a lot to put on a baby. And I was like, oh my God, it's not me. I'm not a divisive person. This is not how I function. I'm a person who moves through the world with love. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that this hill that I would have died on 1 minute before was not even part of who I am, not part of my authentic self at all. And I put it down, and I've never picked it up again. And my politics have not changed, but it's completely shifted how I see myself, how I operate. And this is like 7 years ago. And that was the missing piece for me, was the messages that we take on, and more in love than in hate. When somebody says, oh, you're bad, you did this, that you took that on. But when you affiliate with someone out of love and you adopt their core values, you don't even know that it doesn't belong to you. And it's
Right.
keeping you from who you are. And that was the big piece that came through to me and that's what I help people with, is the experiences that separated them from themselves, and the messages in love the values that they took on that don't belong to them, that completely changed the trajectory of their life because they live them, even though they're not theirs.
So how long have you had soul exploration through art?
So I actually started my business. I was doing it just as out of, volunteering with my neighbors. And I moved back to the States in 2019 to get a job in social services, which had been my work for years and years. And then COVID hit. And my kids, so I got a house and I got them in a school in Georgia. And like that, they were back out. And I was like, uh-oh, I can't look for a job now. So I started my business in 2020 during COVID. And the wonderful thing is that because I can work from anywhere, we were able to move back to Costa Rica. So I'm in that same community that I started my work in years ago, again now, after having started it as a business during COVID.
So are you with people in the States remotely?
I work with people all over the world. So I have clients in Canada, Australia, Brazil, here in Costa Rica, in the United States. Yeah, all different time zones, all different.
I would imagine you're very fluent in Spanish.
You know what? It's funny because my Spanish is okay, but I was in a meeting today because I'm a part owner in a private school here, and I was in a meeting today, and the director of the school didn't know that I spoke Spanish, and I was talking to somebody in my house, and he was like, "Oh, we should do all our meetings in Spanish," and I was like, "No, let's not do that."
Yeah, that's what they try. They try to get me like that too. Every time I speak my little bit of Spanish that I know.
Yeah.
So what I mean, you seem really happy with what you're doing right now. What are some of the breakthrough stories, if you can tell us about them? What are some of the ones that stand out to you?
Sure. It's so interesting because I have a client, and it's fresh in my mind because it's recent. I have a client, and when I met with her, she was hesitant because what I usually do is I'll do a workshop or a half-day live event so people can get to know my work, before they start working with me, so they can have an opportunity to experience it.
Like a trial experience.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's how like, do you click with somebody? Does what they do work for you? Do you feel a good fit? And so she came to a half-day event that I did, and we met on Zoom to talk about it. She lives in the States. And she was like, I don't think this is going to work for me, and I said, I'm 100% sure that I can help you. And she was like, I really, and it was clear to me that she didn't have faith in her, she thought, because she had been depressed for 40 years and she felt like, there wasn't a way out. And I was like, I know that I can work with you. And she said, you know what, I think, I'm concerned because I have a specific religious faith, and, I don't know what yours is. And I was like, you know what? Here's the thing. My coach said to me, "Why do you hate God?" when I first met him. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to think about that. And I came to a place of opening up myself spiritually. And now I don't judge anybody. And whatever your faith is, I hope that we can deepen that, and that we can, use that connection that you have to your benefit. So she was living with her elderly father and feeling trapped. And she was convinced that he couldn't leave, or she couldn't leave because her sister would terminate their relationship. And so we worked on this, and she was also concerned that I was going to move too quickly for her. And for me, I was like, you know what, this is your time, this is your space, we're going to move at your pace, and we're going to look at you. We're not going to look at this situation. I'm going to support you in getting to know your authentic self, and that will change your outside. When you change your inside, the outside will change. And she said to me like 2 weeks ago, my life was all darkness with a few specks of light. And if anyone had told me that my life would be all light with only a few shadows, I would never have believed them. And yeah. And I was like, yeah, I knew it. And her father's now, he has dementia. He's now in a very small group home with only 6 people that live there, getting the care that he needs. And she is able to now focus on her own self and her own life. And now she wants, she has other goals, but that was the first step. And it was a huge, huge step for her. And just walking side by side with people is my joy, and not deciding where they're going to go or how they're going to get there, but just being a support and knowing that when they connect with themselves, their life will change.
Right. Well, like Kelly said, you have to make sure that you connect with yourself, and the first step is to have the courage to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have had any sponsors at all if I didn't have the courage to ask them for sponsorship. Just like I had the courage to know that you guys are going to love these commercials. Stay tuned.
Me and my team, whenever we link up, they're gonna be drink up. We still gonna relax and have few glasses when there's things to think about. Like I'm nice with the boss when I tend to the bars, and I'm not talking drink ups. So tell the bartender that tend to the bar to please pass me a big cup up. And tell that waitress is waiting on us to put a little ice in it. Now watch the ice become weightless like the spaceships that I be sitting in. No wait and listen, no they're waiting for that tropical twist that'll take your taste buds. Now taste some. Now I insist it's the drizzle.
Go to dizzlebrand.com now and order yours today.
You are hereby guilty of pretending to be good. You are hereby guilty of pretending to be nutritious. You are hereby guilty of being full of garbage. We need someone who can save us from these troubled times. Excalibur, 20% off your first order. HP Street, 10% off every order after with Talk Junk 69.
Welcome back. We are here with Kelly Hopkins. She is the happiness coach, and we're talking about soul exploration through art, how she started, and some of the most memorable things that she can talk about. Now, you were just telling us a story about one of your clients,
Mm-hmm.
and you said she wasn't feeling it when it first started. She didn't know if you guys would click well. She didn't know if the cultures would mix, but you assured her that whether there's a culture shock there or not, that you two would be able to connect in a way that would open her up and help her through her everyday life and get out of that funk. Was there anybody that you thought you would click with and actually help them, and you weren't able to successfully get them out of their funk?
I have not had that experience yet. Knock on wood. I haven't had that. I really believe that if people are open, and that's what I look for when I meet with somebody, is are they really open to getting to know themselves in an authentic way? And if you are, I don't think that there's anybody that can't radically change their lives. I just don't believe that.
Are there people that feel that way? Like if they get into this type of training, it's gonna radically change them in a way where they won't be able to recognize themselves?
Well, the people that come to me feel disconnected. They feel disconnected from themselves, and often that shows up as disconnection from work, disconnection from friends, family, and they feel like something is missing. That's how I felt. I felt like I was living like a half life, and I knew that there was more, but I didn't know how to get to it. And that tends to be the people that are attracted to my work, are people that feel stuck, and they know that there's more, but they don't know how to get to it. And so I think when people come and come to an event and they work with me, and then they're like, you know what, I like her, I like what she's doing. I think maybe she can help me. And then we talk about it, and we talk about, the first thing I always do is get a really detailed history from people, because the red flags of where the stuff is stuck come out. And then it's just a matter of, what are their goals? What are they trying to accomplish? And then going about helping them understand what got disconnected, how can we get it reconnected? And then how does for some people, they no longer want to do what they were doing before. Their life doesn't match. I had a client who had decided to divorce her husband, and they were just separated when we started working together. 8 months later, they reconciled because of the work that we did, and she realized that it was her relationship with herself and not her relationship with him. And now they've been together again for like 2 years, and she's super happy. And she's happy in her marriage, but she's also happy in her skin, that was the problem. It wasn't the relationship. It was she wasn't happy in her own skin because of things that she didn't understand. The values were key for her. She had values of her grandmother, because her grandmother raised her primarily, and she had values from her grandmother that she was holding over herself that didn't match who she was inside. And so she was constantly berating herself and her spouse with these values that at the end of the day, she didn't even believe in, but she didn't know it. And so it was a process of unearthing the fact that she adopted these because her grandmother was her lifeline and she loved her. And so she affiliated with these values at a core level when they weren't hers.
Now, can you say that it's pretty common that most of these disconnecting factors with oneself pertains a lot to adverse childhood experiences?
Not just childhood, but adverse experiences. Because I think that we abandon ourselves in those difficult moments, in our lives, when how we are doesn't fit whatever it is. And it can be, for some people it's relationships in their adult life. But I think that when we abandon ourselves in a moment because it doesn't, for whatever reason, we interpret it as that part of ourselves is unacceptable. And again, when we affiliate with other people's values over our own in a subconscious way, for sure, it's negative experiences and values that don't match that are the ones that get us stuck and disconnected, for sure.
Now, when you got somebody that is in a funk with themselves, mm-hmm. and they're just starting with you, they just agreed to your program, what are the things that you try to get them to do in their everyday life that will help to change this cycle?
One of the things that I think is super important is you can change the inside, you can change how you feel, but if you don't change your habits, so I do a lot of work with habits because you have your habits of thought and then your behavioral habits. And if you change how you feel, but you don't change your habits, your things are not going to substantially change in your life. So we work on habits that either thinking habits, limiting beliefs that you have that you need to replace, and also behavior habits. Because a lot of times when people are feeling stuck, it shows up in a lot of places in their lives. It shows up in their health. It shows up in their eating, their exercise. It shows up in their social life. It shows up in their usually lack of hobbies. And so, trying to help people, and the research on habits is really clear that grand gestures are no good. And there's this myth that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. It's not true. The brain research shows that it's actually about 6 months that it takes to create a new habit or to break an old habit. And that if you try to go for broke and do, I'm going to exercise 7 days a week, for example, you will 100% fail. You have to start, it's small, simple steps and habit stacking. So if, let's say, you brush your teeth every day, you want to use that. It's already a subconscious, it's already embedded as a habit. You want to stack something on top of that. Like, let's say you're going to try some meditation. I like to work with meditation, journaling, and EFT tapping early on as ways to help people bring self-care into their daily lives. And so do it right after you brush your teeth. That's a good way to, if you build on top of a habit that you already have, instead of trying to lay it down on its own, and to start with 1 or 2 times a week and then build from there, as opposed to trying to overdo it and then end up failing.
Now, what is that EFT channeling?
EFT tapping. So tapping is energy. It's emotional freedom technique tapping. It's energy, the movement of energy. So there's points on your body, this like your karate chop here, and here on your eye, out here, 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 under your arm, and on the top of your head. And there's millions of tapping videos free on YouTube. If you type in like tapping for anything you want, tapping for financial resources, tapping for anxiety, tapping for a great day, tapping for stress, you can find many, many videos and they'll guide you through it. It's a combination of those movements plus repeating statements that the person who's facilitating the tapping makes. You repeat them and you're moving energy. It's very effective.
That sounds interesting.
It is. Great. And there's so much. You can tap on anything and you can tap with like 1 million different people. There's a tapping world summit going on right now. And I think it's free too. Yeah, if people aren't tapping, you should give it a whirl and try for at least like 2 weeks, because it takes you'll feel it right away. But if you do it for a couple of weeks, you'll really notice a change, especially if you do it in the morning. If you pick something like I do tapping for a great day with my children in the morning, and it really has a great impact. Yeah, and you can tap. It's all like 10 minutes or less. Tapping it doesn't take a lot of time. And I really like Brad Yates. I do a lot of tapping on YouTube with Brad Yates. He's very skilled and he's been doing it for years and years. You do have to, it is a certified practice. So people who are tapping, hopefully they're certified in tapping.
That I'm gonna give that a look, because it sounds interesting. And it kind of sounds like things that you kind of see with like maybe the hand gestures, the hand movements while you're talking to people, and all of these chakras, and it seems like it's in line with all of that.
Science has proven that everything is energy. You're energy, I'm energy, the table is energy, everything between us is energy, everything we can't see is energy. And tapping is about the movement of energy around a specific topic. And I found it to be really effective. And I'm getting certified right now in subconscious reprogramming, helping people reprogram their subconscious mind. I've been doing that work with a coach for about a year, and it's amazing. And so it'll go really well. I'm in the last part of the certification process, and it's a great complement to the work that I'm already doing.
How so?
Because when I'm doing the meditation, visualization, and drawing for people, we're accessing things like people will have experiences that they're blown away by what came out for them and how it shifted very quickly something. And with the subconscious reprogramming, it can shift in like a minute. There's a body testing that goes with it where your body is a pendulum to let us know whether or not you have that belief or not. And then I would clear it, and then we test again. So things can be removed in a minute, as opposed to years. Like I was in regular therapy for 10 years and it was great. And I had, a lot of things I worked through, but clearly, 20 years later, I was still not okay when I started my journey back to happiness. And in this last year with the subconscious reprogramming, it's just been a whole new aspect of like quick removing of barriers and blocks.
Wow. That sounds like you're about to stumble onto your own monopoly. Do you plan on trying to expand maybe into your own teaching, your own type of coaching?
What I really want to do next is to work in the corporate world, because I really feel like would be so much value in like HR, because in social services, we had a lot of contact in the social services agency I was in LA with large companies, and there's such a need for this kind. So many people are unhappy in their work environments, and I think there's such a need for this. And so I would love to do half-day workshops in corporations. And eventually, I think, yes, because I have a few clients that would be interested in getting certified. And so I could see doing that at some point too.
Wow. You are gonna be swimming just like what's Scrooge McDuck in the coins pretty soon. These things are, and I know that's not what you're in it for. You're not in it for the money. You're obviously in it to help people become as happy as you are, maybe even happier. Yeah. But with everything that you're doing and all the dots that you're connecting together, it's going to end up in a very lucrative company for you. Now, our listeners that are going to need your services or need your services at the moment, where can they find you?
soulexplorationthroughart.com is my website, and there's a link to my Facebook group. And I do a lot of anytime I have a workshop, and I do workshops usually weekly, it's posted in that group. And it's a great way to try out my practices to see if it's a good fit for you. I have online courses. Self-Care Through Art is an online course where you do it all on your own. Ignite the Undeniable You is a group coaching program, which is a combination of work on video and live coaching in a group setting. And then my one-on-one program is Rise Through Art. And that one, both Ignite the Undeniable You and Rise Through Art are by application, because again, I always want to meet with people and see if it's a good fit for us to work together. And Self-Care Through Art is just, anybody can do it anytime on their own. And again, like I said, I hold at least 2 workshops per month for people to have an opportunity to try out what I do so they can see whether or not it's a good fit for them. And I'm super excited about adding in the subconscious reprogramming, which I'm going to start this month, and having that ability to clear things out even faster.
All right. You are an amazing, excuse me, an amazing person with your signature smile and your signature hair, which was hard to get in the graphic, by the way.
Sorry.
No, I enjoyed trying to get it in there. It came out perfect. Just like this episode did. And we hope to try to have you on again. I do another podcast on Friday nights. It gets a little raunchy in there and it's a little later, but once you get certified, if you'd like, I'd love to have you on, and maybe we could take some callers and you could try to start reprogramming some people little by little.
Sure, that would be awesome, because that's actually what I need to do for my certification, is to do it for people now that I've learned how to do it. So that would be awesome. I'd love to do it.
Okay, yeah, that sounds amazing. Let's set that up. Matter of fact, don't go nowhere. Let me close this out real fast.
Okay.
Thank you again for coming on. You were a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. There you go. Like I say every week, another great guest, another great conversation on another lovely Tuesday evening. And we are at the end of in the beginning and in the end of a long week. All we really need are it is a new outro, all right? Bear with me. The end of a long week should be filled with drinks, family, and the Talking Junk Network. That's why we bring you the best podcast this side of the internet. Join us live every Tuesday night for the new Talking Junk episodes, and every Friday night at 10 for the new Break Room episodes. Have courage in yourself. Be happy. Get out of that funk. And if you need that help, go to soulexplorationthroughart.com. Hit up Kelly Hopkins and get yourself going there. All right? Connect with yourself, because you can't know the world unless you know who you are. Peace out.